Russia launched its largest drone attack of the war on Kiev, injuring at least 23 people and damaging buildings across Ukraine's capital. The assault came just hours after a phone call between US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Ukraine's Air Force reported that Russia fired a total of 539 drones and 11 missiles overnight. Air raid sirens echoed throughout the city from evening until dawn. Residents sought shelter into metro stations while smoke clouded the city center. Among the injured, 14 people were hospitalized. President Volodymyr Zelensky called the strike deliberately massive and cynical, noting that the air raid alerts began around the same time as media coverage of Trump-Putin call. Zelensky said Russia is again proving it has no intention of ending the war and called for more air defense support and international pressure. Kiev officials said the attack damaged 40 apartment buildings, 5 schools and kindergartens, railway infrastructure, cafes, and many vehicles across 6 of the city's 10 districts. Poland also reported damage to the consular section of its embassy, though no staff were harmed. Drone debris set a medical facility on fire in Kiev in 𝐒𝐭𝐨𝐫𝐢𝐬 district. The country's largest rail carrier, 𝐒𝐭𝐭𝐲𝐬, said train services had to be diverted, causing delays. Russia's airstrikes on Kiev have intensified in recent weeks, with some of the deadliest attacks of the war recorded recently in the capital. Ukraine Air Force said it destroyed 478 of the incoming air weapons, but strikes were still reported in 8 locations across the country, involving 9 missiles and 63 drones. On Thursday night, Russian shelling killed 5 people in near Pokrovsk in eastern Ukraine. Speaking after a call with Putin, Trump told reporters he was disappointed and saw no sign that Putin wanted to stop the war. The Kremlin reiterated that it would continue efforts to address the root causes of the conflict. Zelensky urged for harsher sanctions and international action, stating Russia must face consequences for its strikes on civilians. Meanwhile, a recent US decision to pause some weapons shipments, including Patriot defense missiles, has worried Ukrainian leaders. Trump clarified that weapons are still being sent but blamed Joe Biden for sending too many during his presidency. Zelensky said he plans to speak with Trump to discuss the issue. At the 17th Economic Cooperation Organization Summit in Azerbaijan's 𝐾𝐚𝐰𝐬 city, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif called for stronger regional collaboration amid escalating global instability. Addressing leaders of the 10-nation Eurasian bloc, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said the geopolitical tensions such as the Iran-Israel conflict and Indian aggression towards Pakistan have underscored the urgent need for unity in the region. He described the ECO as Pakistan's best hope for a collective response to growing challenges. Referring to the recent 12-day war between Iran and Israel, the Prime Minister condemned what he called the unlawful, uncalled for, and unjustified Israeli attack on Iran, calling it a dangerous trend destabilizing the region. He offered condolences for those killed in the strikes, which Iran's health ministry reported as 627 dead and 4,870 injured.
The evolving global landscape being redefined by rapid technological changes, growing interdependence, and expanding frontiers of knowledge has made regional cooperation all the more essential for dealing emerging challenges, bridging economic divides, and unlocking shared prosperity. Within this context, the Economic Cooperation Organization represents our best hope, and Pakistan is proud partner with its brotherly member states in these collective endeavors.
He also criticized India's hostility towards Pakistan following the April 22 attack in India illegally occupied Kashmir. 22nd attack in India illegally occupied Kashmir's Pahalgam that killed 26 tourists. India launched missile strikes against Pakistan on multiple cities, blaming Pakistan for the attack without evidence. In retaliation, Pakistan downed 5 Indian jets and launched counter-strikes. The crisis was diffused after US intervention on May 10th, which led to a ceasefire.
The unprovoked and reckless Indian hostility directed towards Pakistan after an unfortunate incident in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir was yet another attempt to destabilize regional peace. The world witnessed the steadfast resolve of our valiant armed forces under the able leadership of the Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir.
He also accused India of attempting to weaponize water by holding the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. He condemned India's refusal to honor a recent ruling by the Permanent Court of Arbitration in Lahore, which declared that India cannot unilaterally suspend the treaty. Prime Minister Shehbaz said that Pakistan would consider any violation of Indus Treaty as an act of aggression, emphasizing that the Indus water are the lifeline of 240 million Pakistanis.
We are now witnessing a new and alarming trend with India's weaponization of water. India's illegal attempt to defy the World Bank negotiated Indus Water Treaty, as well as its blatant disregard for the recent ruling of the Permanent Court of Arbitration, are completely unacceptable and we reject it with contempt. Waters of the Indus are the lifeline for Pakistan's 240 million people.
Turning to Gaza, the Prime Minister expressed grave concern over the humanitarian crisis, saying over 57,000 Palestinians have been killed since 7 October 2023. He said the region has descended into a man-made catastrophe, where even UN humanitarian workers were being targeted. He declared Pakistan's firm stance against atrocities committed in Gaza, Indian-occupied Kashmir, or Iran. On climate change, Prime Minister Shehbaz highlighted Pakistan's 4RF framework, resilience, recovery, rehabilitation, and reconstruction, and proposed regional initiatives such as low-emission corridors, a regional carbon market, and a disaster-resistant system.
Excellencies, unfortunately, the world has been witnessing an unprecedented man-made catastrophe in Gaza, a region that has descended into an abyss of perpetual suffering. It is as if humanity no longer exists, while famine looms large. Humanitarian workers, including UN personnel, are being attacked by Israel with impunity to deliberately cut off the only lifeline of the helpless and starving people of Gaza.
Earlier, the Prime Minister met Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev. Both leaders expressed satisfaction with ongoing investment discussions and agreed to enhance cooperation in trade and investment. Prime Minister Shehbaz invited President Aliyev to visit Pakistan and lauded Azerbaijan's proactive role in hosting the 𝐒𝐭𝐲 summit. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa PDMA issued a gulf warning due to heavy rains, increasing the risk of glacial lake outburst flood in Chitral, Swat, Tir, and Kohistan. Over 71.1 million people remain vulnerable. Rescue teams have been placed on alert and awareness campaigns launched to reduce potential losses. And in Karachi, over 5,500 police personnel have been deployed to secure 8 Muharram processions with army support and surveillance in place. Authorities have urged the public to remain vigilant and follow traffic diversions issued for the 8th to 10th Muharram processions across the city. Saudi Arabia has reiterated that its current priority is securing a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Speaking in Moscow, Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud responded to a question about normalizing ties with Israel. He stated that what we are seeing is the Israelis are crushing Gaza, the civilian population of Gaza. This is completely unnecessary, completely unacceptable, and it has to stop. Meanwhile, in Gaza, at least 15 Palestinians were killed in an overnight Israeli strike, according to health officials. The strike reportedly targeted a tent encampment west of Khan Yunis around 2 a.m., where civilians displaced by nearly 2 years of conflict had been sheltering. Nasser Hospital confirmed deaths. US President Donald Trump announced earlier this week that Israel had accepted terms for a 60-day ceasefire with Hamas. He described it as the final proposal and expected Hamas to respond within 24 hours. Hamas has not publicly accepted or rejected the deal, but has said it is studying the proposal. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has not yet commented on Trump's ceasefire plan. While some members of his coalition oppose a deal, others appear to support it. Netanyahu has repeatedly maintained that Hamas must be disarmed, something the group has not agreed to. In Tel Aviv, families and supporters of Israeli hostages held in Gaza staged a protest outside the US Embassy on Independence Day. They called on President Trump to secure the deal. Demonstrators placed 50 empty chairs at a symbolic Shabbat dinner table to represent those still held in captivity. Ruby Shen, whose son Italy Shen was killed after being captured, urged both Netanyahu and Trump to bring home the hostages and secure lasting peace. According to local health officials, over 57,000 Palestinians, mostly civilians, have been killed in Gaza since October 2023. The conflict had displaced more than 2 million people and caused widespread hunger.